I love Battlefront 2. And if you're subscribed to this channel, I'm assuming you do as well, but Battlefront 2 is truly, honestly, a great game. It's not the same game that it was at launch back in November of 2017. Very far from it, in fact. The game has grown, evolved, and become a much better experience for the player. It's got some of the smoothest gun mechanics of any first or third-person shooter that I've played. The hero mechanics are fantastic, and the immersion factor is incredible. It puts you right in the Star Wars universe. With all that said, there are some things that I would like to see changed, and in this video today, we're going to go over the 3 things that I would like to see changed the most in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Let's check it out. Welcome back to the Star Bazaar, ladies and gentlemen, and drop a comment down below with anything that you would like to see changed in Battlefront 2 yourself. This video isn't intended to be negative or just to mindlessly bash the game or anything like that. These are just 3 things that I constantly run into in Battlefront 2 that drive me up a wall because, in my humble opinion, I truly think that these things should not be happening, yet I constantly encounter these issues while I'm playing the game. So let's just check it out and start with the first issue I have, stun locks. If you don't know what a stun lock is, it's what happens to you when you get hit by either a melee attack or a lightsaber attack. When you get hit, there is a small second where you stagger and you can't really do anything at all. You can't move, you can't jump, you can't dodge, activate an ability, pretty much anything. You're just stuck there for the duration of that stagger, which leaves you open to get hit by a second attack, which can stun lock you a second time, just perpetuating the cycle of getting hit and getting staggered endlessly until you're dead. You'll most likely encounter this the most in Heroes vs. Villains, when you're getting spammed on by a lightsaber user. You'll get hit by that first attack and then try to dodge away, only to find out that your dodge gets cancelled out and you get hit by a second attack. Or you'll try to activate an ability, like General Grievous's Unrelenting Advance to protect yourself, and your ability will just get cancelled out. Or you'll try to jump away to safety, and while your attacker is 20 feet below you, you'll still get hit in midair. It's pretty ridiculous. That last one may be more of a symptom of the input delay and the laggy hitboxes, but the principle still applies. This all comes as a result of getting spammed on and hit by lightsaber or melee attacks. It's why I firmly believe that day 1 players who just picked up the game for the first time today, are the single most dangerous players in Battlefront 2. A seasoned veteran, I know how to handle them. I know that they're going to try to feel me out the same way that I'm going to try to feel them out, and we'll have a good, healthy exchange. A new player who just picked up Battlefront 2 today, I also know how they're going to play. They're going to run straight at me and hit that trigger as fast as possible. And the problem is, it's going to work. If they land one single attack on me, I'm going to get stun locked into oblivion. They're going to stun lock me once, hit me a second time, stun lock me again, and just repeat that cycle until I'm dead. The only thing I can do at that point is hold the block down and try to dodge away. But the problem is, if they're spamming on me faster than I'm trying to dodge, they will stun lock me and pull me back into their attack every single time. I simply cannot get away unless I'm spamming the dodge button, faster than they are spamming their attacks. Spamming encourages spamming, which simply perpetuates the cycle of stun locks, which is not good for the melee combat of Battlefront 2. It really makes it frustrating. A seasoned veteran should be able to take on a player who just picked up the game today every single time. Unfortunately, the game is so casual friendly with the stun locks that the day 1 player actually has a solid chance of beating the seasoned veteran. It's crazy. So, stun locks. Number 1 problem I have with Battlefront 2 that I would like to see changed. The only problem is, stun locks are such a fundamental part of the melee combat at this point that it's difficult to imagine what the lightsaber combat would look like without it. Down in the comments below, let me know your experiences with the stun locks, because I cannot be the only player who hates them this much. My next issue with Battlefront 2 is something that cannot directly be changed by the player and is entirely on EA's side, I think. And this has to do with the EA servers. I think the EA servers for Battlefront 2 need to be upgraded in some way, because a lot of things happen in-game that I think should not be happening at all. Things like when you swing your lightsaber on a target and the first hit does not register. It'll go right through them and cause no damage, leaving your second attack to be the first hit that lands. Or when you're having a gunfight with somebody and you're low on health, you'll try to dodge behind cover and you're physically behind it, but you'll still get shot and die. This has to do with server lag. If the servers were a little bit better, things would be happening in the game more real time. Right now, there's a bit of a delay. If you swing your lightsaber just by hitting the attack button once, the inputted command actually registers before the animation does. This is that input delay I was talking about when I was mentioning stun locks. If you're going up against a lightsaber user like Rey, for example, this happens a lot with Rey. She'll be spamming on you, and even though you're backing up or jumping away, she'll still hit you when she's 20 feet away. She looks like she's not in range at all, but her attacks are still landing. This is because the Rey player is inputting their attack commands when you are in range, and the animations of them swinging and you jumping away are simply catching up to the inputted commands. That's why when you play Battlefront 2, everything kind of seems delayed. Everything seems to happen a second after you tell it to. If you swing your lightsaber 3 times, those 3 inputted attack commands will already have gone through and registered a full second before the 3 attack animations have caught up to it. With a better server and less input delay or input lag, things would happen in real time a lot more. You would hit the attack button once, and right as you hit the attack button, your character should attack. Right now, you have to overcompensate the timing of everything you do, and it makes combat pretty challenging because you have to not only overcompensate for your own actions, you have to kind of predict what your opponent is going to do as well, because what you're seeing your opponent do in real time, they have already inputted the commands for a few seconds before you see it happening, if that makes sense. To put it another way, if you're reacting to something your opponent is doing from your point of view in real time, they are already inputting commands to do something else, and the animations simply have not caught up to it yet. So, the input delay, or the laggy servers, whichever is the primary culprit, is my second big gripe with Star Wars Battlefront 2. If you actually know which one of those things it is, let me know down in a comment below. I'm no game developer, but this is just as far as I can tell from playing the game. The input seems to be very delayed, and I'm pretty sure that is a result of slow servers. I could be wrong though. And my last and probably biggest issue with Battlefront 2 is the relationship between the character models and the terrain, or the map. I'm sure this has happened to you several times. You'll be running across the map, just minding your own business, and you'll step up against a rock, or a bench, or a ledge or something. Something that's not even knee height. It comes up to your mid-shin, and you can't step over it. You just get stuck, you get hung up, and then you get shot as a result. This is because of the bad relationship between the terrain and the character models. There are certain assets that I think you should be able to step over every single time, but you can't. You'll walk up against it and you'll just get stuck. You'll stop moving. This drives me absolutely crazy because looking at the asset in-game, you'll think to yourself, yeah, I can absolutely step over that. That is so small, but then you'll run up to it and you'll stop moving and then you'll probably die as a result. It's awful. This affects me maybe a lot more than some other people simply because of where I come from. Before I played Battlefront or Battlefront 2, I played a lot of Kingdom Hearts. Maybe you guys have heard of that game, maybe you haven't, but it's my favorite game franchise of all time, and the physics in that game is very, very smooth. If you run up to a terrain asset or just something in-game, you don't get stuck on it. You'll either step over it or you'll slide around it. It's very smooth. You simply do not get stuck. Especially not how you get stuck in Battlefront 2, so coming from that game to Battlefront 2 and then getting hung up on virtually everything, it's very frustrating. That is a case of apples and oranges, because those are two very different games and it's a little bit unfair to compare them, but I think the physics in-game should still behave pretty close to how they would behave in real life. If there is a small ledge that you should be able to step over in real life, I would expect my character model to be able to step over that in-game. It's frustrating when that doesn't happen, and it's even more frustrating when you die as a result of getting stuck, because there wasn't much you can do in that situation other than don't step on that terrain element, which is unfair to the player. I think we should be able to access the entire map without having to worry about getting stuck on a specific thing. If you have to tell yourself to avoid a certain part of the map for fear of getting stuck on it, that's poor map design in my opinion. Unless, of course, it's an intentional environmental hazard, like a lava pit or something like that. Obviously, don't step in lava, but if you have to tell yourself to avoid a ledge, or a chair, or a bench or something like that because you'll get stuck on it, that's poor map design in my opinion. And here's the kicker, not every single map has this issue. Geonosis is a prime example of a map that has a lot of terrain assets that when you look at it you would think you would absolutely get stuck on it, but then you'll run up on the rock or the hill or whatever it is and you can go over it just fine. It makes me wonder why some maps like Geonosis are actually good with this issue and other maps like Tatooine, for example, are really bad with it. In Mos Eisley, if you're walking through those narrow corridors or where those kiosks are set up, you'll get stuck on virtually everything. but in Geonosis, you can climb over those rocks no problem. So, in summary, getting stuck. My biggest problem with Battlefront 2. It's highly annoying, it should not happen, and I would like to see it changed if possible. And with that, those are my 3 biggest gripes with Star Wars Battlefront 2. It doesn't change my love for the game. I wouldn't be making content on it if it did. I still play this game almost every single day, and I have a great time doing so. These are just the 3 biggest things that I have an issue with and drive me the craziest when I encounter them in-game. But drop a comment below with any issues that you have in the game that you would like to see changed yourself. I don't expect a change for most of these, even though I would like to see one, but if this video catches some traction and catches the attention of the developers, hey, that's some bonus points for me, I think. Maybe they'll hear some of this feedback and say, hey, this Turkish Delight dude really knows his stuff. You should subscribe to the channel. On that note, if you enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing to the Star Bazaar for more Battlefront 2 discussion videos like this, as well as news updates and tips and tricks. We virtually do it all here at the Bazaar, so I hope you consider joining us. If you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment with your thoughts below, and that's going to do it for this one. I appreciate you all stopping by the Bazaar. This has been your boy, Turkish Delight, and I will see you all out on the battlefront. Peace.